All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories from Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and you are now stuck with me for the next 45 minutes to an hour. So I hope that sounds like a good deal. I can't believe you guys aren't all watching the presidential debates. Oh my God. Yeah, I watched little glimpses of it and I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm just so done with politics. It's been a hell of a long journey of politics, and I'm so tired of politics. I'm just tired of it. But anyway, that's why I do the portal. That's why I'm here doing the show, and that's why I'm thrilled you guys are here with me. I guess you guys are all ready, but I hope you're ready because it's time for bed. Did I mention how tired I am of politics? It's true. I am really tired of politics. Oh my God, am I tired of politics? Oh, it's been a constant campaign for the last several years, and I'm just so done with it. Oh, it's just disgusting. But anyway, I don't mean to go on and on about it, but it's just such a social sickness anymore. I'm just tired. I'm just exhausted. And this is my show, and I got a microphone, so you get to hear all about how I'm feeling. So I hope you like that. It's unfortunately, I am Pam. There's not been any end to it. There's not been any end to politics for about the last 5 years. It's just going on and 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 on. It's just there's been crap slinging for 5 years now, and it's just old. But anyway, I'm not saying what you need to believe. I'm not saying which side I believe. I'm not sure I believe in a side at all. I think they're all ridiculous, but I don't know. There's just so much hate. It's a bunch of hate. It's like a big ball of hate and fear. Hate and fear. So that's why I'm not ever watching the news ever again. I haven't watched the news, actually, ladies and gentlemen, for literally years and years and years and years. I got to the point after every newscast where I felt like garbage. And I was like, why am I watching this? Why am I watching this garbage? Why do I care what these people think about anything? I understand. The only time I turn on the news is when I'm curious what weather's coming, or, if there's something to do with weather. And even those guys are like 80% wrong. And so it's like the only job I know of where you can be 80% wrong and still have a job. So that's our media, ladies and gentlemen. It's a bunch of puppet shows. But anyway, hope you're doing great tonight. Thanks for being here with me, and thanks for letting me get up on that soapbox right away, because just hate politics. Anyway, I got some stories pulled up for you guys tonight. I hope you guys enjoy them. I will do my best to entertain you for the next foreseeable time, up to about an hour. And after that point, it's anybody's guess. But I hope you enjoy it. Anyway, let's see what's first. What is first? I got these. No, I'll save those for another time. I liked that show last night about the angels and stuff. That was a feel-good show. It felt really good. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of strangeness going around the Portal studio today. Lots of weirdness happening. For 2 days in a row, this doesn't have anything to do with the paranormal, but it's just been aggravating as hell. For 2 days in a row, right around noon until about 4 or 5 o'clock, I haven't had internet for the last 2 days. So it has severely limited what I've been able to do. I did, however, finish part of the videos that I've been promising you. I got one of them done, but I actually didn't get it finalized and finished until about, I guess about 30 minutes before showtime. And I'm not sure how long it'll take to upload to YouTube, so I'm going to wait and upload it after the show. So keep watching for that, and that'll be the Coloma investigation having to do with the cemetery, when Dan and I were at the Coloma cemetery. So as it stands now, Dan is going to be coming on, I think, a week from tomorrow. And ladies and gentlemen, speaking of tomorrow, make sure you tune in, because our very own Deborah Varner will be here doing psychic readings for free to callers of the show. And she comes on usually about once a month. Every once in a while we miss a month for whatever reasons. One time because she was under the weather, and another time because I apparently forgot to write it down. So, but she will be on here tomorrow night, actually, and will be joining us, and we'll be discussing all things psychic readings And it's a real easy show for me for the most part. I mean, I got a lot to watch and a lot to keep track of, but I don't have to talk. I go full secretary mode. Deb, line 1. Deb, line 2. It's a pretty cake deal for me when Deb comes on. So, and honest to God, people, Deb is just amazing. If you haven't heard her do readings before, it's just a phenomenal time. She's just so sweet and loving and nice and kind and wonderful. And if you'd rather not do a reading on air, like you just feel like, nah, I don't want to do that publicly, well, then you can always go over to Purple Mystic Reader or Purple Mystic Readings by Deb on Facebook. Purple Mystic Readings by Deb. And she can help you set up a private session. Or you can email her at purplemysticreader@gmail.com. And I'm here to tell you it's about the most reasonable priced reading you'll ever come across in your life. She is just phenomenal, but just amazing. And you're certainly never going to find her caliber anywhere near that price point other than her. So, and she also does gift certificates. So if you got somebody you love, they got a birthday or some celebration coming up and you want to get them a really amazing present, check out the gift certificate options that she has where you can buy a reading for someone else. I think that's a pretty incredible thing. It's a great service and a great opportunity to get some insight into what's coming up ahead. So, all right, let's get to our first story. Oh, by the way, Saturday night, we're going to have Stephen Majors, who is the founder of Extreme Expeditions Northwest, LLC. And they are the ones who did, on Prime, you can find their recent documentary video, which is called Search for the Port Chatham Harryman. And the backstory on that is really pretty spectacular. It is the only town that I've heard of that was actually abandoned because of an aggressive Sasquatch was killing people, like mashing people up and tearing them apart. And it wasn't bears. It wasn't the normal kind of creature killings. It was like these people were mashed, like smashed. I don't know how else to say it. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's like, oh my God. So, yeah, they were the first actual team to ever go up there and investigate. And while there isn't a whole lot of evidence in their footage and in their experience, it is really intense, and they really did catch some things. And it's worth a watch if you get a chance. So look for on Prime, the Port Chatham Harryman. Search for the Port Chatham Harryman. Chatham is Chattham. So Port Chatham Harryman. And it's a great show. They did a really wonderful job shooting it. They were actually the ones who sponsored the convention that we went to, which was the Bigfoot Roundup over in Spokane, Washington. And that's where I met Stephen, as well as Adam Davies, and just great people. They're just really good people. So, all right, that's going to be it for the announcements. Let's move on to the first story tonight. And this is coming from North Carolina, which, oddly enough, is Deb's stomping grounds. Let's see what we find. This one's pretty long. It's a long story. All right, let's see if I got it in me. As soon as I graduated from high school, my sweetie Jeff and I were hell-bent to move out on our own ASAP, so we decided to move out that summer with a mutual friend of ours, and, well, we'll call him Rob. It was summer of 1999, and the house Rob and Jeff found was an adorable 2-bedroom with a large kitchen and dining room, and I loved it for its hardwood floors and country feel, and I love that there was farmland across the street and past our huge backyard. The backyard had a small grapevine and a giant ancient cherry tree, and the cherries were absolutely awesome. The grapes were okay tasting. I guess we're on a food tour here of their backyard. But anyway, one thing that disturbed me was the memory of a crime scene at this residence the year before. There was crime scene tape all around the house for at least a month, and I can remember having to stop as cops waved traffic through regardless of the concern. I moved in. Sorry, I didn't mean to run all those sentences together. I was on speaking terms to the neighbor at the left, and she said that there was a drug deal there the year before, and a young black man had died there in one of the bedrooms, and I automatically assumed it was the smaller bedroom occupied by Rob. And we all know what they say about assuming. Well, she also said that the landlord's mother used to own the place and died there of natural causes, and I know that she had lived there from the landlord as he bragged about how she had decorated the place, and I really think she protected me there. The first instance that I had of a ghostly encounter to paranormal in that house was the very first night I stayed there. Rob and I decided to stay so that we could get an early start on unpacking, as Jeff had to work the next morning. And sometime during the night while I was sleeping, Rob's dumb butt, it says butt, okay, closed the door while we had a large kerosene heater in the room. I faintly remember waking up a little feeling hot and strange and falling back to sleep, almost like I wasn't able to wake up. Then I heard my name being called over and over along with "wake up." And it sounded like my mom, and finally I woke up and got up and opened the door, and I laid back down. I slept maybe an hour or two more as the sun was up in the early morning, and when I finally got out of bed with a headache. I moved the heater out of the bedroom and got myself going for the day, hot tea and ibuprofen. I really liked living there despite the lack of a real closet and storage space. I didn't see shadows or anything, but a lot of times I would see things darting around the corner of my eyes. I did get a full body apparition out of the corner of my eye, and I was in the kitchen when I was making a large meal for the company that night, and I saw an old woman with short gray and white hair and a light pink and light blue flowered muumuu, old lady pajamas, says old lady pajamas. And I turned and looked, and she wasn't there. I turned back to the pork roast with sauerkraut, and she was back, and I looked again, and nobody. And she was out of my peripheral. Considering I was making a Yankee meal, and she would have been an old Southern lady, I felt like she was wondering what in the world I was doing to that pork. I would get a tremendous feeling of being watched while I was in the master bedroom Jeff and I shared. This feeling was particularly intense while I was alone in the room. It is strange, and I'd also think I'd see things in my closet mirror, or dresser mirror rather, and that was only happened at my mom's as well, but not where I currently live, which is also haunted. After living there a few months, a night came, and I was trying to get to sleep while Jeff and Rob and some friends were all in the living room playing video games. The feeling of being watched was really worse than ever, and it was emanating from the black reaches of the closet, where I got the bright idea that I would see if there really was something there by confronting it. If you're here and can understand me, give me a sign, like sitting at the end of the bed or something. Very shortly after that, there was the distinct feeling of someone plopping down next to my foot. I froze. I hadn't really expected an answer. I could see a definite indentation on the bed, and the thing started moving. Though through the light coming in from the cracked open door in the window behind the bed, I could see the covers pulling slowly at my side, as if someone were inching up the bed. Every hair on my body stood up, and I held my breath. I thought I heard crackling breathing that wasn't my own. And as it reached my elbow, in a fit of adrenaline and fear, I shot up like a rocket and bolted in the living room full of guys, in nothing but a t-shirt and panties. I had tears in my eyes. There's something in there. There's something in there, I repeated, trembling. The guys all jumped up, grabbing brooms and mops, thinking there was a rodent or squirrel or something. I let them explore, saying I thought I saw it in the closet, feeling embarrassed, knowing I would be ridiculed for ghost stories if I told the truth. I told Jeff later that when the hunt was over, what happened, but he brushed it off as just a bad dream. I told him he had to be sleeping to have a bad dream, but he didn't pay any attention to me, and I told nobody else after that. But that night, I stayed up late with the guys having a couple of beers, and I made Jeff switch sides of the bed with me. The next day, when I was alone, about to go to work, I told the spirit to never do that again, and to go home to the light. And if it didn't go, at least quit watching me so darn bad. I still felt like I was being watched, though. Another thing to happen there revolved around Jeff. His personality did a 180. He was fine for the first 4 months or so. But more and more, he turned into a real jerk and would freak out over absolutely nothing. Excuse me. His temper became something to never reckon with. He would blame me for things that happened in the house that I had nothing to do with, and was obviously so to everyone else. He would call me names and even come close to hitting me once. After we moved, it was like he was back to his normal self. He was a completely different person in that house. And we had been together for 3 years prior and for 9 years since without incident like that, so it wasn't like I was getting to know the real him or something. When we moved, we had a friend who worked in the carpet business and replaced the carpet in the bedroom for us so we could get our security deposit back. I forgot about a huge candle I left burning and made a giant wax spot on the carpet. We helped him since Jeff used to lay carpet and ripping it up was easy. And when we ripped up the carpet, there was a massive stain on the floor that really looked like blood to me. I always did find it odd that it was the only room in the whole house that was carpeted. The sad thing is Jeff brings that house up now and again and says that he wishes we could have stayed there. He's about to start a better job in the fall, and we will be in the market to rent a new place or even buy, and he's hoping we can get that house again. It's almost like he's drawn to that place, and I just hope the people who are there stay there, because I am not moving back. Wow. Jeez. Pizza sauce. All right. Let me just close this. And good to see all of you guys in here. Thank you all for who have come in since we started the show. I appreciate that you're here. Make sure to check the bell that it's rung or it's clicked, because I keep hearing how people are not getting notified of the shows. And if that's the reason you're late, check that bell to see if it's really rung. Even then, I'm hearing about people getting notifications like a half hour after the show starts. So it's really strange. But I can't help it. I mean, I'm not in charge of the bell or anything. It has absolutely nothing to do with me or what I have control over, but it's something to look at because apparently it just gets unclicked. And as Duke says, click that like button if you would, please. It goes a long way to help our videos get recommended to other people who may be interested in the paranormal on the YouTube algorithm, for whatever that's worth. Sometimes it's worth a lot. Other times, a little less, but it's still important. We definitely want the channel to grow, and thank you to all of you new people who keep finding the show. It's been amazing to meet you all, and all the emails that I'm receiving now is really, really impressive. A lot of great stories coming in. Got a few more today, so when the internet did work. That was, I don't know what the hell's wrong with the internet up here. Now, granted, ladies and gentlemen, I live in the very north of Idaho. And I've said this before on the show many times, but I'm pretty sure our internet is just repurposed telegraph wire. But they've been working on it, I think. At least they said they were. And I don't know what kind of work they're doing, but it's starting to suck a little more every day. So hopefully they're getting these problems nailed out and figured out, because it really hinders what I'm able to get done in the day, since everything I do for this show is online. But I did fold laundry. So it's not like I wasn't productive at all. But anyway, the next one is coming from Arkansas. I've never been one to take much notice of the supernatural, but I do believe in God, and I know I'm somewhat protected from spirits by being saved by Christ, but still there are times when there are other dangers than those involving your soul. I lived in my house for many years, and for the most part, nothing too interesting has happened. Occasionally, I'll get a feeling that disturbs me to the pit of my soul, but I have yet to lay eyes on whatever occasionally frequents my home, but I can always feel it, watching and waiting. And when it's around, you can feel a sense of anticipation, as though something there were waiting for someone or something to happen. Occasionally at night when no one's around, aside from me, it would make its presence known. I'd be sitting watching television or reading when suddenly I'd get a cold, sinking feeling. The feeling would start at the center of my chest and sink lower. And it was always accompanied with a sense of dread and a sense of fear that was impossible to ignore, and it just makes you want to run. Whenever I feel this, the cats are around, they will suddenly sit up and begin to stare at a particular corner in the room intently. At night, it becomes stronger, and sometimes I will get the feeling, and when I do, I usually have to clutch my Bible to my chest just to keep me calm. It sometimes walks up the hall. The floor in the hallway is water damaged, and when someone walks down the hall, you can hear it. So far, it's eluded my sight, but eventually, I'm sure I will see it. I just hope that I'm prepared for what I will see. So that brings up an interesting point today. I was telling you guys at the lead into the show that some weird things have been happening around the house today, especially. I don't know what's going on for sure. I don't know if something is here or not, but, I do a show on the paranormal, obviously. And I really think that there's something to the fact that we discuss ghosts and spirits and principalities and everything all the time. It's just part of the vernacular of the show. And I think that when you do that, there might be something to the whole idea of magnetism. There's a whole mystical idea of magnetism that you can draw things to you by giving them a lot of focus in your life. And I think that, by doing the show, that it is creating a sense of magnetism. And I just think things get weird around here sometimes. And, those of you out there listening to this may think, yeah, right, whatever. But today, my cat Anubis was sitting on Don's desk over there, and he was sitting there just looking at the wall and kind of looking around and like he was following something. And I didn't think much of it. I've never seen him do that before, but he was just staring at the wall back here. And then he jumped down and runs off, and then he tears off like he's chasing something. And then the next thing I know, true story, the planchette from the Ouija board hits the ground. So now that is glued up there with some really sticky stuff. I had it falling a lot before. I used to try to adhere it with adhesives to the wall, but it kept falling and falling and falling and falling. So I nailed it up there. It's actually nailed under the wall. And the planchette would come off. So I tried different adhesives, and I found this really powerful sticky stuff that, it's like you could literally nearly pull the thing off the wall with the nails with this adhesive. But today it hit the board, hit the planchette, hit the floor. I was like, clunk, clunk, and I look over. I look up the Ouija board, and sure enough, the planchette is not there. And I look down on the floor by Don's chair, and there's the planchette sitting there. So it did fall down today. I was in the kitchen a while ago, and I heard something like this. No, it was more bassy, like this in the house. And I'm looking around like, what the hell is that? So I walked through the whole house to make sure that nobody'd come in during the day or anything, and nothing else. No, nothing here. So it was just me. And as I was sitting here getting ready for the show, I heard another thump out there in the other part of the house, and the cat is actually laying on my feet. So, strange night here in the portal, I guess. But again, I think there's something to the magnetism, drawing things. Again, take it or leave it. I'm not trying to create believers. I'm just sharing the story's all about talking about the paranormal, and these are things that I experienced today that I can't explain. So, again, take it or leave it. Either you believe in it or you don't. I have certainly nothing to gain by embellishing this stuff. The show is the show with or without weirdness going on, because there's plenty of weirdness to talk about. So, but I do like sharing that stuff with you as it comes up, because I find it really interesting. And perhaps there is something to this whole magnetism thing. She. Yeah, I think so too, Deb. I think it's a she. I did catch, as I was sitting here, I caught a weird scent of, I don't know what it was. It wasn't the normal flowery scent that I've talked about in the past, but it was very sweet smelling. And I don't know where that came from or what the deal is with it, but very strange. Strangeness going on here in the portal. Probably, Linda. I probably did trigger something, but I just think by virtue of doing the show, discussing the paranormal all the time, I just think it's creates a magnetism, like the old ideas. So it is a little weird, but nothing scary. I'm not like freaked out or anything, but I just think that stuff is really interesting, and I want to share it with you guys as well. I ask you guys all the time to share your stories, so I figure when something happens here, I'll share it with you guys. So take it or leave it. Either you believe it or you don't. Like Duke says, Ripley's Believe It or Not. Yeah, exactly. Something like that. But anyway, and by the way, that Ouija board has never been used, so it's like brand new out of the box, right up on the wall. So it's not like it has a portal attached to it or anything weird. It's just a decoration. So it's not ever actively been used for anything other than hanging on the walls. So let's continue on here. I got another one. Oh, okay, there's that one I read already. Let's go to this one. All right, this one's coming from New Jersey. I'm 14 years old, teen, and I live with my dad and his girlfriend. And my dad and I have been moving around a lot and rented cheap old houses, and my dad finally saved up enough money to live in a decent home. Throughout my moving, I've seen pretty weird things, and I didn't want my dad to think less of me because I see weird things. And also, my dad and I rarely talk. So when I moved into my new and current home, I made some friends, and this is when my dad found out his girlfriend. I'd lived in this house for 3 years to be exact, and I thought that my shadow seeing and things falling off was over until last year. I could still picture it in my mind. I was in the living room, and my dad and his girlfriend was out for the week or two, and during that time, I started to see strange things again, and I felt scared, and I had to turn on the light and sleep as much as I hated it because of the increasing electricity bill, but I was planning to sleep with the lights off and be brave, so I turned off my lights when I went to bed, and around midnight to 2 o'clock, I woke up because I was thirsty. And when I entered my kitchen, I turned on my light, opened the fridge, got out a bottle of water and drank, and while I was drinking, I heard some noises, as if someone was washing the clothes old style with the board and stuff. So I followed the noise, and it became louder, but not much. The noise came from my bathroom, and I looked around, but nothing was there. I tried to deny everything I heard, and I finally went back to sleep. I heard it again, and this is the point where I felt scared and turned on the lights and became cold, and I heard some noises coming from the upstairs room like running. I didn't have any roommates, so I went into my kitchen and I got out a knife thinking that maybe it was some kind of robber or something. Well, I slowly went upstairs and tried to be silent as possible, and I heard a door close from the far end of the room. That's just mean. That's so rotten. I went and checked, and it seemed as if someone was hiding in the corner. Well, I felt really scared, and I turned on the lights, and she was gone. So I hurried downstairs, dropping the knife, and turned on the living room lights, and turned on the TV, but the TV didn't work, so I just sat there and fell asleep on the couch. I woke up in the morning and didn't go to school, and my dad called wondering why I had lied, that I felt really sick and about to throw up. Oh, I'm sorry. I made that all one big sentence. I I didn't go to school, and my dad called wondering why. Well, I lied and that I felt really sick and was about to throw up, and he didn't believe it, but he told me to stay home. Does anyone have any experiences like this? Well, a lot of people do. That's why we read their stories, because a lot of people have experiences just like that. Wow, what the hell happened there? We were at... I don't know how this happened, but I imagine it'll go back up. If you ever watch your subs on YouTube, like I got this app, it's from Social Blade, and it gives me a moment-by-moment update of the subs on YouTube, and it was like up to 158, and then it just like nosedived down to 152. I don't know what I did, but I must have done something good, and it was even before showtime, so it was just before we launched our show tonight, so I don't know. I think YouTube is glitchy for that stuff, though, to be honest with you. All right, let's get more stories launched. Not that you want to hear my sub count and all that fun. Excuse me. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. I'm always enjoying doing the shows. I see I've got some calls, so let's get to these calls and find out what's going on. Area code 515, you're on the air.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, how are you, brother?
Feeling a lot better.
Oh, good. Did everything come out okay?
Yeah. I pretty much over all that, so I feel a lot better. But
oh, wonderful, brother.
I want to let you know that this Sunday, I'm going to be doing an investigation of one of the local cemeteries,
Oh,
and I'm gonna try and live stream it. We'll see what the cell reception is in that area,
uh-huh.
but we'll see how that. I've had some people say, "Hey, if you do that, live stream it." I was like, "Well, I'll see what I can do."
Are you going alone?
No,
Okay,
I've got another person that's interested in going, so
good. Okay.
it'll be me and one other person.
Wow, excellent. So this
And
Sunday?
it was an interesting phone call. I called the people that own the place,
Uh-huh.
and this guy answers and he goes, "What are you looking to do?" And I was like, "I'm just gonna sit out there at night with some camera equipment and some audio equipment, and just set up and walk around a bit." He
Uh-huh.
goes, "Well, what are you hoping to take pictures of?" And I said, "Well, whatever shows up." He goes, "Well, I don't know about all that stuff, but I guess that's fine." I said, "That's good enough for me."
Oh, some people just don't have a taste for the paranormal, MCAT.
He owns a cemetery, or he's at least responsible for a cemetery. He probably doesn't care,
You
you
got
know.
you got to wonder if he's seen some things there though, you know?
Yeah, you do have to wonder if you're there a lot, setting up things, that if you see something.
Right.
So
Hmm.
yeah, that's the deal. It's going to be Sunday night. I'll try and do a live stream if the cell reception is good enough. If not, I'll just have to record it and post it later.
Well, I hope that works out. That'd be fantastic, and I'd love to. I'll be looking forward to seeing it. Julie and I may do the same thing on Sunday. Actually, that's kind of funny. It must be a good night for investigating.
Oh, yeah, it must be. Now, if it's rain and if weather's going to be a problem, then we'll have to do it.
Oh,
I'll have to set it up for another night. Now, I'll be home for a couple of days, so I'll just call the guy up and see if we can move it to another day. But
oh, very cool.
hopefully, if everything works out,
Oh,
Sunday night is when we're going to do it.
that's wonderful, man. I'm glad you're getting back out there, and now you're gonna have that new recorder by then, right?
Yeah. Hopefully, I ordered two things. One of them, I I talked to my roommates. One of them has shown up, so I got confirmation that both of them delivered. So I got to find out what happened to that second package.
Mm.
It should be there, so we'll find out.
Oh, very cool. Well, I'm looking forward to it, brother. I think you should be hitting the investigative trail a lot. In fact, if you ever if you ever find room for me to join you and you're in the neighborhood somewhere, I'd love to take part.
Oh, I know, I know. I gotta find a way to get up into that area sometime.
Yeah. Oh.
Um, what else? I emailed. There's a metaphysical fair in Des Moines, Iowa. That every year it's the first weekend of June, and I always go to that. So I emailed them the other day about setting up a presentation um, that would be like 20 minutes lecture, 20 minutes EVPs, 20 minutes questions. So for an hour.
Oh, very cool. Wow.
So yeah, we'll see what. And I would be. I don't know if I'd live stream that. I would like to record it and post it on YouTube. So we'll see how all that goes. I haven't heard back from them yet, but
Well, you think they'd jump at that? I'd jump at it if I put on an expo. I'd definitely have you come and show up, you and Dan and Lisa, and teach us all that stuff.
yeah, they don't get a lot of them. There's only a couple of people that'll do. It's usually a lot of esoteric or mysticism things. It's not a lot of ghost hunting.
Right.
So they should be okay with something like that. So we'll
Oh,
we'll see what happens.
oh, very good for you, brother. I think you're excellent at what you do. Your approach is awesome, and I know you've got a lot to share and a lot to teach people. So I hope that you're able to make that happen because and if you record it, please let us know because I'll or if you're going to stream it, we'll let people know on the channel to come watch you.
Yeah, I'll figure out. Um, I got to figure out which way is going to be you are possible, I guess. So,
Okay.
but that's next year, so we'll see how all that plays out.
Sure. But even about
I
your
just wanted to let you know.
your cemetery streaming, if you're able to stream, if it looks like that's going to go, let us know, because I'll definitely announce that on the shows, and we'll get people over to your channel to check it out.
Cool, brother. All right, I just wanted to let you know what I was into, so
All right, man. Well, it's
I'll let you get back to the rest of it, my friend.
all right. It's great hearing from you, brother, and take care. And I'm glad you're feeling well.
Oh, I am too, man. All right, I'll talk to you later.
Okay. See you now, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Mike Hetzel, MCAT. That's always good to hear from him. Always good to hear. It's always good. All right. Let's continue on our journey here for the paranormal stories. This one is coming from Pennsylvania. Not too long, but let's see what this one has to say. I have a lot of stories to share, but I'll start with this one that I remember being told about. This took place when I was about 5, and I'm not sure if I would consider it supernatural or not. My mom had gone to our neighbor's house, who lived about 100 yards up the lane from our house, for some chit-chat, and it was dark when she decided to come back home. And she said while she was walking, she felt like somebody was following her. But when she would turn around, the only thing behind her were two light reflections that seemed to be 10 feet behind her. She told herself that it had to be some reflection from the neighbor's house and described them as bouncing balls of light. But when she made it halfway to the house, she turned around, and they were still there and still 10 feet behind her. She started walking a little faster. When she made it to the top of our yard, she thought to herself, when I turn into the yard, the light won't be able to turn. So she turned into the yard and was feeling silly for thinking that she was being followed by balls of light, and it was about 50 feet from the top of the yard to the house, and when she got about halfway, she turned around and there were the lights. So she absolutely ran the rest of the way and locked the door behind her. This is where I come in. My mom told me that about 5 minutes after coming home, I came out of my room crying and asking who the two people were that came home with her, because they were in the porch waving at me, and they were really scary faces. Ooh. I don't remember this happening, but also don't know why my mom would just tell me a story like that. She has since passed away, so I hope I remember everything the way she told me, so everyone knows I wasn't told this story until I was about 8 or 9, when I started having other things happen to me. Wow, so she saw them as little balls of light. He, however, saw them as people with really scary faces waving at him. That's terrible. That is so terrible. I don't know why. I'm so perplexed by this. Why do children see so clearly? Why are they able to see these things so clearly, but we as adults aren't? I mean, I wonder if there's some absolutely fundamental difference between our vision as a child and our vision as an adult, or does it have more to do with our spiritual awareness as a child versus our spiritual awareness as an adult? I don't know. I know children are much more wide open, and they aren't as jaded and closed as we adults are, but still, there's something pretty incredible there, because the children see them as if they're right there. I mean, they don't see them as generally as these wispy weird things. They see them like they're people standing there. So why are they able to perceive that? Is there something about puberty that changes the structure of our eyes? Is there something about that change in life that changes how our eyes perceive light? I don't know. It's just very profound, though, because and kids just accept it as just part of their world when it happens, for the most part. I mean, they might be scared because these things look kind of creepy, but, very, very strange. There's just something really, really, I don't know. It's a real enigma to me anyway. But let's go on to the next one. This is New Mexico. Oh, we got another caller. Let me go to this call and find out what's going on. This is area code 530. You're on the air.
Hey, Brent. How you doing? It's Sage.
Hey, Sage. How you doing? Good to hear from you. What's new in your world?
Well, I wanted to comment on what you were saying, because I was just talking to my husband about Yeah, the opening of seeing things as a child.
Mm-hmm.
I have to agree with you on that, but somehow some things are brought along into adulthood and some aren't with people.
Yeah.
We were talking about that. Um, and I got to say, I think it's really interesting on how some people can close it.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to say that I think that it has to do with a part of that some people are empaths
Sure. Mm-hmm.
and their empathy, and either in the 80s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, something weird happened. Like something strange happened during that time. We had a lot of high strangeness during those years, a lot of sightings,
Uh-huh.
A lot of just weirdness across the board during those years. And now it seems to kind of be hyped up more, except the only difference is that, we're able to talk about it, which is weird for some of us because we were told not to.
Right. Yeah. Don't say that.
And finding out that we're not alone, I think, is mind-blowing in itself.
Sure. Yeah, I would agree.
But I mean, like in my experience, I was told that it was all demonic, it was all evil, and that if you're afraid of it, that, it was satanic and that you were supposed to stay away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if something that you see that you don't recognize, and at first it does scare you, it doesn't necessarily mean it's evil.
Mm-hmm.
I think that as a parent, if you don't know what it is and it scares you, it's gonna, and
Right.
it's coming after your child, it's scaring you. You can't protect your child. I think, our parents might have done the best they could because they didn't know what was going on. I think a lot of things were happening with our parents that we didn't know what was going on,
Right. Mm-hmm.
that they're still not going to talk about.
Sure.
And it seems like generations are coming forward and talking about it now because it's gotten to the point where we just can't anymore.
Right.
We can't hold it in anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But my whole family are experiencers, and the way that we deal with it with our children versus the way, that my parents have dealt with it is very different. And I think that has a lot to do with it.
Oh, I think you're right. I think that, but it sounds like you were able to have the dialogue. You were able to have a dialogue with your children about it. And I think that, sorry, I'm trying to get some sage out at the same time because your name reminded me to sage.
No, good. Good. I'm happy you're saging. Good. I actually put that. You got to sage.
Yeah.
I had a very bad experience with the Ouija board. So I was like, sage.
Oh. Yeah.
Sage.
Well, this is actually, it's actually incense, but
Sorry,
it's frankincense, incense. So it's got a little spiritual
That's
punch to it.
awesome.
Yeah. But no, I think you're right, and I think, but what makes me very curious is there really some kind of fundamental change that happens with puberty that causes people to lose that sight, or for some people, because you're right, some people do retain it through that time, but some just lose it, and I don't know if it's an emotional thing or is it a physiological thing or what.
Well, with me, I was never able to run away from it. It followed me consistently, still does. But I think that I might be more in tuned or more aware. I don't know. I've asked this. I'm not the only child. I think that some people want to put their head in the sand and not want to, acknowledge it until the authorities or whoever they say is an authority acknowledges it. The 80s were very different, even in churches, on how they preached about how to deal with demonic entities versus now. Right. When I'm a pastor's child, So
Okay.
when you read about certain things, I'm floored by how open people are,
Mm.
because I was not in any way raised to even speak about these things.
Sure.
And in the 80s, that's how all the churches, most churches, and
Yeah.
I'm not, and in no way am I judging anyone. I'm not. I want to make that very clear.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a comment that someone thought that I was judging them, and I wasn't. I have no right to judge anyone.
Okay. Well,
I
I
only go
appreciate
off of my experiences, and
Right.
I'm only trying to find answers for me. That's it. No one else, just me.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can help anyone along the way, then I'm more than happy to. But from what I found is that it's, I mean, it's kind of like, certain things just tend to follow you. I don't know if you've chosen it, if they've chosen you. I don't know if that's your journey. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of trying to figure it out,
Right.
because it gets really hard and lonely, and they isolate you. I mean,
Yeah.
they purposely isolate you.
Sure.
And, you kind of have to like crawl out of the hole and find another way to, they make it hard.
Yeah.
They make it extremely hard
Sure. I think
to
so.
even talk to a normal group of people that get along with, or even acknowledge what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
That I found.
That's right.
So, I mean, that can't be a coincidence.
Right. No, I think there's something to that for sure. Many dark things, of course, deal with oppression, and it's not a lot different than abuse. I mean, in a physical sense, abuse is abusers like to isolate and deal oppression to the
Right.
people they're abusing. So it's just a similar modality. It's just spiritual in nature.
And, well, the one thing that I found, which I was kind of shocked about, is the certain communities that I've come across with your show have been more open and more willing to face things head on.
Wonderful.
Than the communities that I was trying to get answers with prior. Because they would just keep on reciting the exact same things over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And it would just keep on going back to corporations, and you weren't getting anything or any information. You were getting no information.
Sure.
And at least in the channels that you're connected to, and I really want to thank you all. I mean, this is pretty much more of a thank you, because I found more answers by going and being connected through all of this.
Oh, good.
I mean, finding a man, to go out and witness something that he's never witnessed before, and be as scared as I was when I was a child, kind of makes me feel better.
Yeah.
Kind of makes me feel good, that I'm not such a weenie.
Right.
And those kind of things are, they're helpful, and they reassure you that you're on the right path and that you are doing the right things, and whatever works for you in your journey is correct. But we do need that, the one-on-one and the friendships and the connections and just the foundation of being able to have that. And they're doing a really good job on trying to tear that apart, because together we're stronger. And and it's not about the love and light people. It's not about any of that, because we're all pretty much somewhat the same. I mean, we've come here for the same purpose.
Right.
I mean, I think.
I think so.
I'm not a love and light person. I'm not. I mean, I don't claim anything, because I don't know the truth on anything.
Right. Yeah. I'm the same way.
I think that's really important for everyone to know, is that I gotta know the truth before I'm going to put my stamp on anything. And so I'm so isolated that I feel like it's so hard for me. And so I haven't done this, I think, since I was part of the church, and so I'm actually asking for the chat to send me a lot of thoughts, I know I'm being watched. I had a boomerang, a ship come over my house. My husband heard me. I pulled it up. I looked at a bunch of pictures, and they were not of. They weren't the craft of what the government has. It shattered my whole house. And it looked exactly like a lit up boomerang.
Wow.
But it was huge.
Like by huge, how big is
massively huge?
Could you guesstimate the size?
Well, it blacked out the whole sky of my whole home. I'm on 2 acres.
Okay.
And when it flew over, it pretty much, it looked, so I have redwoods all over. I'm in the Sierras, and I have redwoods.
Oh, nice.
I live like right by the forest outside of Placerville. So they're all redwoods and sequoias. And when the boomerang came over, it was right above the trees, and it was very slow.
How long ago was this?
And it right before I found your channel.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Because the reason I'm asking
and this was a consistent thing that I'd been seeing things over and over my house.
Okay.
And then it slowly happened. My husband was right. He was in a window right by it, and he could hear me. And I was like, "That's a boomerang. That looks like a boomerang." And it was lit up like a boomerang. It went extremely slow, and then as soon as it passed my house, I couldn't see it anymore.
Wow, that's crazy. The reason that I'm curious the reason I'm curious about the time frame is because the Phoenix Lights incident I think it was in the 90s, maybe it was in the 2000s. I don't remember exactly when, but that was described as a boomerang shaped craft, but several miles big, like it was enormous. And and they apparently the sightings from that go like all the way from Utah all the way down to Phoenix is what I understand.
Oh, I have it written down. I have it written down on the date.
Okay.
Because it was I was so incredibly shocked by it.
Right.
It was in July, I think. It was Friday, July 19th.
Oh wow. Okay, so it was this year.
Is when I saw.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It was the 16th. I have it all written down. It was Tuesday the 16th is when I saw the boomerang, and then I saw another one on the 19th.
Wow. Okay. Huh. I'm just trying to figure out. I was just doing a search to see when the Phoenix Lights actually happened. Because that's one of the most famous UFO incidences in the United States, as far as such a broadly perceived phenomena that even the governor, although he made fun of it at first, he came out later and said, "No, I saw it as well." And
yeah, that was like years ago, though, right? That wasn't this year,
right? No, but the point being is that clearly people are seeing these boomerang type craft. And it's that validates your claim a lot, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, it's not the first one I've seen. The boomerang, that was the first one I've seen. That's not the first craft I've seen.
Okay.
But it was definitely watching me. It definitely wanted to show that it was there.
Mm-hmm.
It was a definite. I even asked my neighbors if they saw it, if they've seen anything like it, because they sit outside and smoke, and they were like, "No, but we want to talk to you about it." And I was like, "Okay," because I see it, and I'm outside all the time, and
sure.
So this is one of the reasons why I sent you that email, because I'm getting to the point where I really need to talk to.
Yeah, I saw that email come in.
I'm seeing all this stuff.
I hadn't
and I'm like,
I was just going to say I saw that email come in, but I haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
Oh no, that's okay. But
okay.
I'm just saying, I'm seeing all this stuff, and I just want to know, has other people seen more activity? The people that remember and that have had it their whole lives, are they, do they see the uptick? I can't see the chat when I'm on the phone, just let you know.
Oh, okay.
So, If you guys want to talk badly of me, you can now.
Oh,
My
no.
phone's doing some weird stuff. It's like flicking off and on. I'm not touching it. So, like it's just a common thing. And when I talked, I talked to someone that's lived here before, and he was like, "Yep, that's happened." Weird stuff happens in this area, and I'm just trying to put it all together.
Right.
The depression, I work really hard on. I meditate a lot. I really focus on not, because that's something that's very, very tricky when it comes to brain surgeries.
Mm-hmm.
So I really focus on being as positive as I can.
Sure.
Just to get out of bed. So I don't have any depression. I have more of a sadness for where the world's going.
Mm-hmm.
But that's more of my issue. It's just the sadness of where the world's going.
Sure.
No, I just, I have all of these experiences, and I don't really know where to go to tell them. And so I'm calling a radio show, which I never thought I would do, because it happens almost nightly. It's just a consistent thing.
Well, you're pretty plugged in.
And I can't be the only person.
No, probably not. But you're clearly pretty plugged into the whole I don't know, esoteric energies of things, and so I suppose that in some ways that creates a beacon around you. That you're maybe more noticeable to them too, because they may be as curious about you as you are of them, because you're picking it up. I think that a lot of things, like in the terms of spirits, they seem to know when somebody can feel them. They seem to be intrigued by that, and I'm sure the same is probably true for the whole UFO thing, that they know when people are aware of them. So.
Yeah, I'm not scared. I'm not, I don't feel any of those things. I'm just like, yep, there it is, and
Right.
then it's gone. And I didn't have the chance to pull out my phone because I was in too awe. And then I have pictures of ghosts and stuff like that
Sure.
I can send you.
Oh, I'd love to see them. Yeah.
Behind me, and that are just taken oddly, and they're just